right from the 1960s, when Nigeria got its independence, the first coup, corruption was mentioned.
As in, how can the people now contribute in this fight against corruption?
When you look at it, fighting of corruption is not one man business. It's the teamwork. It's the teamwork. If we can come together and fight corruption, we can bury everything overnight.
As a citizen of Nigeria,
what can be done to make the society better? You know, as a woman here, you know, as a mother.
The society doesn't want to give these women opportunities because they think these women can come and dominate the role men play in the society.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the program, The Advocate. My name is Jack Vincent Fidelis and I'm your host. On The Advocate today, as usual, we deliberate on issues of anti-corruption and accountability in governance and how these problems affect the growth and development of the country. With me in the studio to discuss this program, I have my guest. My guest is Muazu Abubakar Sadiq. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Center for Advocacy, Transparency, and Accountability Initiative. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
Now, without wasting much of our time, what is your take on the level of corruption and lack of accountability in the system?
Yeah, actually, if you look at the system of governance, so to say, there are so many issues of a little bit of gaps in respect to how citizens and as well as those in leadership position align themselves with providing basic amenity, which results to issues of corruption. It's fundamental to see that communities have access to basic needs of life, be it water, be it health facility, be it education, and many more. But if you look at it in a wider spectrum and in a wider perspective, you can see that in the entire country, from the angle of leadership position, from the federal, down state and local government level, and as well as coming down to ward level, you can see a wider gap and a wider a wide space that is being left behind, people being left behind, leading to the issue of inability in actualizing some of the sustainable development goal that results as a result of corruption. So the system...
There is reason for this.
Exactly.
Everything you said has a reason for it.
Exactly.
Now the question remains, what do you really think from the work you do is the reason responsible? You succeeded in pointing out these problems. Now, why is this so? Who is responsible for it?
Yeah, as you know, what we do, and actually my work is working close to the rural communities, and as well as working with the some of the marginalized community. We can see communities that have a wide space of inability of meeting with those in leadership position. Especially you can go to a community that they only see people when it comes to time of electioneering periods, that people come to look for their to look for their votes and many more. So you can see that the spaces that access to some information and access to data in saying that, okay, we voted people into power and we voted them, they have a responsibility in providing us with basic needs of life. So you can see that inability of providing people to have access to education is a very wide gap in seeing that the system is not stable and it's not a system that works for the benefit of the people. So it's a wider gap as a result of inability of those in leadership position to provide the grassroots people with access to educational facilities, with access to a very good and quality education that will give them opportunity to ask questions. So the entire perspective is
invariably, you are telling us that the level of corruption in the system is high. That is basically what you're telling us.
It's high to some perspective.
Okay.
If you come down to grassroots, I'm putting it in the context that if you go to communities in the grassroots, you will shed tears. You will see a community that has a lot of people living there without access to water, without access to hospital, without access to schools and basic amenities of life, which is so pathetic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, from everything you said, it's important to find out from you what you think about the anti-graft agencies.
Yeah,
the anti-graft agencies, have they been making any meaningful progress in this fight against corruption and lack of accountability in government?
Yeah, you see, to me, the destiny of any anti-graft agency as a working in the government system is aligned with the destiny of our people. Our people need to contribute and work on their own side. It's not just to say that the anti-graft agency are making impact or are having good results in getting a lot of refunds and other things.
You know what Nigerians are saying sometimes is that the anti-graft agencies are like dogs used by the government of the day to hunt political opponents. That is what they are good at. The work they have been doing has not in any way impacted positively on the fight against corruption.
To some extent, if you look at some of the agencies, for example, if you look at ICPC, for example, the Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Related Commission, you can see that recently they have come up with some of their initiative in aligning their objective with some civil society organization in fighting corruption, especially in seeing what meant for rural communities directly goes to them, in seeing that especially the issues of constituency project of our legislators, to see that what is given for constituency project is directly being impacted in the life of the constituents. So it's a very good a step for that agency of government in seeing that they have made a contribution. But in the system we work, and in how things is going, you can identify some cases of recent of EFCC on how some of the political leaders only being witch hunt, so to say, if they are not with the majority, that is, if they are not with the ruling party and other things, which is so pathetic in the fight against corruption. So it's very important for government agencies to understand that fight against corruption is beyond fighting opposition.
Now, your thank you very much, my man. Your group or your organization, your initiative, you call it Center for Advocacy, Transparency, and Accountability Initiative, right? Now, it has something to do with tracking of spendings by government and agencies of government, I guess. Okay, how well have you been going about this?
Well,
like the anti-graft agencies, have your own group been impactful?
Well, looking at what we do from inception, adopting the follow the money model actually as a social accountability movement, not in just Nigeria but across Africa. We have done quite a lot in seeing that we impacted directly to the life of rural communities, following up in ensuring that we help government in actualizing its own objective. It's not that we are just following and tracking capital spending or funds that are meant for communities, but we are trying to see how that resource meant for people is being judiciously utilized, and also indirectly we are contributing to the effort of the government. What I mean here is to see that what is meant for the people, all people in the grassroots community have access in knowing what exactly is meant for them. You can see of recent we have started initiating conversation on how we can enhance the service delivery in the health sector, especially looking at issue of tracking projects that has to do with construction of new facilities, and also following up with the NSHIP project, that is the Nigerian Health Investment Project, to see how directly these funds is being impacted to the life of our rural community.
Do you see it succeeding?
Exactly, because we are partnering with government institutions, we are partnering with government agencies in giving them feedback on how they can adjust in implementing such project, on how it can give and yield results. Because when you bring people that this thing affect, you can see a very great result in seeing that they contribute to the formation of the process. They contribute in giving you effective feedback. We know government are trying their own possible best in filling up the gaps and addressing some of these areas that people usually find it easy to take resources not meant for them. But we as citizens need to contribute and play our own role in saying that we give effective information and give effective feedback. But this cannot be realized if there is no synergy and partnership between the government and the citizens. There should be an effective way of communication between the government and the agencies.
Thank you very much indeed on that note. Well, viewer, in case you are just joining us, the program is The Advocate. On this program, we deliberate on issues of anti-corruption and accountability in governance. My guest has been marvelous. My guest has been wonderful. If you want to listen more from my guests, then you have to join us again when we return from the break.
Right from the 1960s, when Nigeria got its independence, the first coup, corruption was mentioned.
As in, how can the people now contribute in this fight against corruption?
When you look at it, fighting of corruption is not one man business. It's a teamwork. It's the teamwork. If we can come together and fight corruption, we can bury everything overnight.
As a citizen of Nigeria,
what can be done to make the society better? You know, as a woman here, you know, as a mother.
The society doesn't want to give these women opportunities because they think these women can come and dominate the role men play in the society.
You are welcome back. The program is The Advocate. And with me in the studio, I have my guest, Muazu Abubakar Sadiq, who is the Chief Executive Officer, Center for Advocacy, Transparency, and Accountability Initiative. I'm going to take you up from the last discussion we had. And on that note, I want to find out from you, how can constituents, the electorate, how can they, as citizens, track the activities of legislators and other political leaders?
Well, you see, in as much as we are in the 21st century, so many things is made easy for our people to follow up with all those things. Why I'm saying this is that we have so many initiatives across the country that are impacting and doing well, especially if you look at the work of connected development using the follow the money model, of which we have adopted and working around it here in Borno State. And also if you look at the issue of the work that Budget did actually around mining data and also simplifying it to see that constituency projects data is there for people to access. And also if you look at civil society organizations like PPDC working around issues of contracting process and other things. So as citizens, we can follow up in ensuring that as young people, not even to put data in phones and access internet in just posting on social media, but accessing this platform to enable us access data that has to do with what we have to achieve in the grassroots community. And secondly, looking at...
Before you go to the second aspect, you know, we're talking about the people. Your organization is an organized one. I'm talking about regular people on the streets, regular Nigerians. You see, I had the good fortune of attending an international program in Europe. And then I saw that over there they have active citizenry. You see, very active citizenry, not docile people who accept anything that comes their way from government. Good. So how can these ordinary people on the streets of Nigeria, how can they hold their elected leaders accountable and get them to act right?
Great. You see, for our own organization, what we are doing or what we are putting in place is to ensure that we mobilize citizens down in the grassroots level. For me, even yesterday, I was in a grassroots community. Coming back, I covered a kilometer of almost 35 kilometers away from roads. I traveled to Gazi, local community in Shani local government area, of which this is a community that don't have access to road, which I travel on the ground to see that I reach to that community and meet up to deliberate with the people there without even having access to network, that is mobile network. So we are trying to mobilize a community, or we are trying to build the capacity of people in ensuring that they make use of avenues like radio platforms to access information that will make them hold leaders accountable. Because at the end of every 4 years, you can see those in leadership position going back to those constituents to tell them that when you voted us into power, we can deliver on so and so. And while they are out, they will not be there until after another 4 years time. So we are trying to see how we can mobilize and as well as give these people information, because information is power. When you have information, you are powerful. So we are trying to give them information in seeing how we can document their voices.
Thank you very much.
We document their voices down in the grassroots to see that we play it in part of the radio programs and other things, in ensuring that government listen to what these people in the grassroots are saying. And also in some instances, we even give them opportunity to come down to the cities to use the platform that we have in ensuring that they advocate and call on government to provide them with basic needs of life.
Thank you very much. That is quite appreciative. You see, once upon a time, Nigeria was heads and shoulders above nations like Dubai, United Arab Emirates. It's a historical fact. Today, every Nigerian wants to make it to Dubai. Every Nigerian wants to go there. And the reason for this is simple. Dubai is an emerging economy. Dubai is a nation of people who got it right. Now, how difficult is it for Nigeria to be like Dubai?
You see, Mr. Jacks, whenever we are talking of how our nation will, for me, most of the times I don't usually make comparison of my nation with a nation, the first class nations or other places. I usually compare my country with Kenya, with Rwanda and others, because we are in a scenario whereby we have weak system that you mentioned in the beginning. We need to put a system in place that will make all these things available to our people. We don't have a conducive atmosphere for young people to thrive. Why I say this is that you can see a graduate coming out of a university without an idea on how to transform this country as a nation. We don't have a system that is producing people that will be effective and contribute to the growth of our economy. So we need to not even talk of corruption here.
Nigerians are abroad doing very well.
Not to talk
Nigerians, from what you've just said, we have Nigerians abroad who are doing very well, contributing effectively to the economy of Europe and America.
Of other nations.
Yes, these are Nigerians.
Exciting. This is quite exciting.
These are people who left this country to go develop these other places because of the enabling environment over there.
Good. And that's why I made mention in the beginning that we don't have a conducive and enabling environment to thrive. When you provide an enabling environment to thrive,
the question is, how difficult is it for Nigeria to have that enabling environment?
We need to start from the grassroots. We need to fill the gaps of identifying what are the main issues of corruption in the grassroots. Because, for example, when someone is coming out to be voted into power, the next thing you will see is someone in the grassroots asking him for 1,500 naira for him to vote for him in power. So we need to take that to change our ideology, to change our thinking, to see it in a very wide way, to be patriotic citizens.
It means simply that there is need for sensitization of the masses.
And not just sensitization.
So if they are not sensitized, how do they get to know about what is right?
It's not just about sensitization.
Okay, what do you do?
It's about doing things right. Because whenever you are blaming...
Organization like National Orientation Agency, NOAA, has a statutory mandate to inform Nigerians and to educate Nigerians on a whole lot of things.
Exactly.
I personally don't know if they are doing it.
What I want you to understand is to see that when I say we have weak system, and we need to make this system work, is to ensure that these agencies of government meant to deliver on some services and some tax need to work around ensuring that they work on the objective and mandate of such agencies. For example, if you go to, let me learn first, when you go to some constituent, you cannot find agencies of government there. So you need to provide an avenue that all these agencies of government meant to sensitize people and meant to create awareness and provide information to people are there to provide this information for people to know exactly what is happening and how this thing can change. So we need to have a change in our mindset from us as citizens, and as leaders, we need to also know that it is part of our responsibility to be accountable, to be transparent, and to make use of judicious utilization of any resources that we have meant for the taxpayers' money.
Thank you very much. And now, on a final note, because of time, I want to know what your advice is to the people responsible for corruption in the system and for our underdevelopment. What is your advice to them?
Yeah,
in maybe 5 seconds.
Good. Maybe it will take me 10 seconds for that. For me, actually, the advice is simple. It's for them to know, to understand that this nation is our nation.
Of course.
We don't have any other nation than Nigeria. We don't have any other place like Nigeria. So whatsoever we are going to do, let's put the interest of Nigeria first. Let's come forward in ensuring that what is meant for people, we deliver on that. Being in leadership position is not an avenue for you to steal or for you to go with people's resources, but it's an avenue that people entrust you with the mantle of leadership. It is not that they cannot do it. Not everybody can be in leadership position. We are mindful that we just select you to be there to represent us as someone that is in leadership position.
Thank you.
So it is important for them to put that in the back of their memory that whatsoever we do, there is the end. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is an accountability after being accountable in the world. There is an accountability hereafter.
Thank you very much. You see, that is why I like bringing you to the studio. It's always interactive and interesting.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You shouldn't be tired when we invite you subsequently.
Thank you so much.
We'll be here for you
all the time.
Thank you. Well, that is the much we can take on the program, The Advocate, for this week. If you've had a good time listening to us, then you can do this again, same time, same station next week. Until then, so long.